Thank you for joining today's episode of the Business Over Breakfast Daily Show. Thank you for joining. Excited to have you on. We have a couple viewers here today, it looks like, or one. Thank you for joining. Let me know who you are in the comments. Would love to say hi, and thank you for coming on to, I think it's like episode 25 or 26 of the show here today. Going to be talking about learning and unlearning. Interesting concept. I think, I wrote up a little something in the comments to this, or the description rather, and just basically breaking down what I mean by this. What's your process for learning and unlearning? I so often see people that, have preconceived notions or conceptions around what they believe to be true, and that is causing them to actually prohibiting them rather to growth and to learning what's working today. So what worked, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, last year, or even in January is not going to work the same way that it is today. So how are you able to adapt and pivot and grow? It's really all about being able to learn what's new, but also unlearn what used to be true and what used to really resonate. So that's a really interesting concept that I would encourage you to think about, how you can unlearn what you used to know so that you can reorient yourself and focus on what you're going to be learning. So one of the big ways that I have seen this work really well for people who are doing it well is by testing. And I just listened to an interesting podcast by Tai Lopez. He's a really interesting guy. He's got a lot of courses and really monetizes his audience really well. So if you go and listen to him, you'll probably, and really like his stuff, my guess is you'll probably end up buying one of his courses, which that's great. I'm all about that. Spread the love. But his podcast recently was all about the how to make $1 million. And he was talking about how it's such a process, and like people always are looking for like this quick fix. But it's such a process and it takes so much time. He said the average, I think, millionaire, it takes them 7 to 12 years to do that. And there's constant learning that is involved in that, obviously. So it's related in some ways. For me, that's not necessarily my goal. I've got like I mentioned yesterday, I got my 2020, 2021, 2022 goals. And then this quarter, how I'm going to be reaching that. There is some figures around that, but it's not for my bank account. It's for the goals are really oriented around the what the business will be able to accomplish. So, hire another salesperson, clients, how many people are we going to be serving, project management, account executives, solution engineers, marketers, executive assistants, culture, build businesses that inspire, influence, transform, and empower people, make lives better using business. Business world is made better because of what we built. Just some cool things that, some of the goals that I have there. But anyway, what's my process for learning and unlearning? Testing. So just circling back to what I mentioned with Tai Lopez, he was talking about how important it is to test and to iterate and to double down on what's working, but to understand, where you're at with all that. So on my run today, I just got off my run and wanted to jump right on here. I need to schedule these in advance. Maybe we'll have some more viewers, but the concept that I wanted to focus on with you today is a new business idea that came to me on my run. I'm going to lay it all out there. I'm sure somebody could go and just steal this business plan. If somebody does do that and succeeds, I would actually love to talk to you and hear about that. this is a ever expanding pie. So I'm sure there could be two businesses that do this. So hopefully somebody else starts this as well. But Aura Media is my company, as you know, that's really focused around podcasting right now. Going to be looking at making it a proper media company and agency. And so one of the ideas that I had is around audio. So I have a business partner, Studio D Production LLC, out in Manayunk in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And they helped me with a lot of the audio. They consulted me with this mic, with my audio interface, the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. I haven't set this up, but the cloud lifter for cloud microphones. I've got my pop screen, my Audio Technica headphones. This is a Shure SM7B, same one Joe Rogan uses. And then I also have a Audio Technica, what is it, a AT2005 USB. It has an XLR input as well as a USB input. So this is a nice cheap one that I can bring with me on my travels, so I don't have to bring my a couple $100 mic here with me. But anyway, so I have this business partner. Sign them on so I can resell their stuff. I'm also their outsourced sales agent. They're my second customer on that. Giving you a lot of info here, but like I said, I'm going to lay it all out. And I was thinking about some opportunity with them. How am I going to help grow their business? And how am I going to do that through email marketing, through selling, through social, through the actual medium of podcasts, through a YouTube live channel. And how can I kind of grow that? So I was thinking about launching a sub brand under the Aura Media brand, have, these lines that you see on the left kind of transformed into a microphone, a black microphone, and have it Aura Audio as kind of a sub brand. And then I was going to contract a good friend of mine, Miles Veth, who does email marketing. He's dominant at it. Do cold email outreach to podcast hosts. He creates lists and then is able to send out thousands and thousands of emails per day and per month. That cold, very personalized, that is really targeted around a specific audience. So I'm thinking that would be podcast hosts, maybe even YouTube live show hosts, what have you. So he would do the cold outreach, be able to reach out and get that going. Then I have my assistant. I talked about her and how I utilize her efforts. Actually, I talked about it yesterday with email and calendar management, but I also talked about the benefits of having an assistant in an earlier episode. Might be episode 5 or 6. I forget exactly. I should keep a index of what episodes are which, but so when people respond to those cold email outreach, it's actually really cool. We get some good responses. I used them for another customer and was getting, 20 to 25% response rate back, which is really good, obviously. So have the cold outreach done through that, scheduling, and then also note taking. That was a big thing. A big failure that I had wasn't taking good notes and making sure that I was following up with next steps. So I was thinking of having the assistant, either her or another assistant, basically come on and handle all the scheduling, either through Calendly links where people can book automatically, or sending just proposed dates and times, or a proposed date and time email invite to anyone who responds and wants to meet. Then having that assistant also attend the introductory call, take notes, input that into the CRM. I use Pipedrive. So they would take notes, schedule, and then also help with the follow-up. So the follow-up, what would that look like? Typically what I was seeing when I was starting to sell a little bit of podcasting services was people look for who's been doing this with you in the past, what successes have they seen? A lot of frequently asked questions like, what is a podcast? Why would I ever consider using a podcast? So if you're a podcast host, why is it important to have a good hosting service? Input it in all the directories, high quality audio with music, bumpers for pre, mid, and post roll ads. So some frequently asked questions around that. A current client result page. So, QAD customer podcasts. We also have 2 coming out for another customer, hopefully the week of Labor Day, which is really exciting. We got 2 podcasts that are going to be launched. I've got a lot of work to do on them today, actually, at some point. So a current client results page. What are current clients achieving? A blog page on audio how-tos, really video-based, transcribed. I can also, I have never contracted a copywriter. I've always been kind of the copywriter, and been using books like this one here, the book on writing, which has been really good. Oh man, this book is so good. This is totally off the wall, or not relative. Turning the Flywheel. This is a monograph by Jim Collins based off of his book Good to Great. Really, really awesome. I would recommend looking at this. So this is what I'm focused on, the flywheel. This is what the flywheel is going to look like. I'm so pumped. The ultimate sales letter, cashvertising. I also use persuasion. I'm looking at my library back there. So number of books. Anyway, having a blog based off of videos. So, and the videos are based off of basically interviews. So I'm going to have Dylan, who's the CEO of the Studio D production, and he has 3 or 4 team members as well. What I want to do is kind of a co-hosted daily show like I'm doing today, where we talk through just what does it look like? What are we seeing in podcasting? What's new? What should you be looking out for? How can you grow it? What are people doing in our industry? All these different things, just kind of more of like a fireside chat, just talking through podcasting. Having a daily show, repurposing that into a podcast, podcast on podcasting, and then taking snippets of that video, building out a blog post, getting it transcribed, and then I'm going to contract a copywriter and kind of trial out a copywriter on creating those blog posts. So I talked about the daily YouTube podcast show. Dylan, me, and the team are going to discuss what we're seeing podcasters do well and what we see podcasters needing to do, and then use that as the primary long form content that we can splice up into social. I'm also, like I had mentioned in a previous show, talked about learning paid advertising around social. So I'm going to use that content for paid advertising. So scheduling and note taking handled by the assistant. Follow up is going to look like building out these web pages. One Click Agency, Sam and Todd Moss, really great team to get a website built. DocLabWebinar.com. They just did for me. Check that out. But so have them build out that website that it's going to include, the FAQ, the pricing page as well. That's the biggest thing. This is going to be operational, not a one size fits all. Miles broke this down for me. Miles Veth was really great talking about the fit like a glove or the operational model. So this is going to be an operational model, not a fit like a glove. The Fit Like a Glove will be our media, and that's an upsell opportunity there. So next follow-up would look like proposal, agreement, and credit card authorization form. I'm going to have Vanessa handle that. Ooh, should have cut that out. Going to have that done in DocuSign. The logo, I mentioned that. Oh, the next thing, the podcast growth course. I also talked about this a couple episodes back. Didn't have anybody sign up for the founders thing, but hey, learn to unlearn. I'm testing, So I have a course called Podcast Growth. If you go to podcastgrowth.mykajabi.com, that website is a site that I am building and going to have a community as well as content that's much more practical, kind of like the next phase of the Daily Show that I was talking about with Dylan. So it's kind of like, if you really want a deep dive and you want to see it all in one place and you want it actionable, you want it referenceable, that's where I'm going to host all that stuff. But anyway, people who sign up for Aura Audio are going to get access to that content as well as that community free of charge. And then also, the big part of entrepreneurship is understanding the finances, legal, your company structure. Need to do some work around that. Going to be looking at developing a holding company strategy and having subsidiary companies outside of that. There's considerations around buying businesses, selling businesses, products, contracts, agreements. All these things are all considerations in your legal structure. I would definitely recommend you get legal counsel. Lane Cyphers has been huge for me, as well as Dan Pepper. They're at Montana and Philly, respectively. They've been huge in consulting, and I've paid a pretty penny. I've paid probably maybe $5 or $6 grand this year just to get good agreements in place, make sure I've got good legal structure, and have them review my books. And then I'm going to use Stripe for a recurring subscription. It's all going to be subscription based. No one-time fees. It's all subscription. Everything's bundled into the subscription. And then I'll have my finance team. I got one of my best friends handling the finance side for me, have him handle setting up all the recurring subscriptions and making sure the credit cards are reviewed and, maintained. So that's all I got for you today. Man, that was a quick 20 minutes, but appreciate you guys as always. And I hope you have a great Thursday.